The Extraordinary Phenomenon Investigations Council presents EPIC Voyages. Come join us as we enter and experience the great mysteries of the world with tonight's host,
John Cappello.
Hello and welcome to EPIC Voyages Radio on the Inception Radio Network. I'm John Cappello, your guest host tonight. Thank you for joining us this evening. Today is November 26, 2012, and we're enjoying this transformational year of 2012. I'm a psychic medium from the North Texas area, and I'm delighted to be the guest host tonight here on EPIC Voyagers Radio. I have my own radio program on another network, but tonight I'm happy to be able to bring some of my guests that I have on my program and introduce them to you and have them talk about their work in metaphysics, and also let you know what some of their experiences have been with dealing with extraterrestrials and all things paranormal, because that's a big topic nowadays. And in the work that I do, which is also considered paranormal, as a psychic mediumship, it's working with energy and existence beyond the physical. That's what metaphysics is. And with that, I'm able to use my psychic abilities to tell people things about themselves and tap into those that are in the spirit world, and yes, sometimes encounter extraterrestrial beings. And so it's quite an interesting field that I'm in, and I talk about it every week, and I'm very happy that I can talk about it today with you. Now, as I mentioned, with the year 2012, this year of transformation, we are facing some interesting dates that are coming up. The first one being 12/12/2012. The number of that resonates down to a 2, which is a 2 energy, is kind of that waiting energy, that energy of of transition, if you want to call it that. And then we go to the other date, 12/21/2012, and that date, of course, is the end date of the Mayan calendar. Now, for a lot of people, they say that that is the date the world is going to end. And for other people are saying that that's the date of new beginnings. Now, after the recent election, we have a lot of people saying that the world is going to end, and other people are saying that it's just beginning. So it's just a matter of what your perspective is, whether or not you think the glass is half full or half empty. But people are taking this particular date, 12/21, to a new level, because they are saying that this is the date that is going to be called the Day of Ascension. And it is based on the Mayan calendar, but people are saying that this is when the extraterrestrials will be coming back and claiming those that are ready to be perfected. Some people are saying that those that ascend will not be remembered by those that are left over. So if you ascend into another dimension or you become purified, then those people that you left behind will not remember that you're there, that you came in. Now, I know that the Mayans were people that called themselves star people, and recently a group of us got together and we went to Chichen Itza, Mexico, and visited the Mayan ruins there. We learned an awful lot about the Mayans. We learned a lot of good things and some things that may not be palatable to today's standards, especially with things like human sacrifice. But they were extremely smart people. They even though they did some things that would not be considered acceptable in our society today, they were people that were keen astrologers, keen mathematicians, keen people on being able to predict what was going to be happening. And of course, every ancient society was able to develop some sort of calendar, but the Mayans were a little bit different, and they actually had two calendars. Their calendars were based not only on the sun but on the planet Venus, and they looked at calendars from the point of view of like a short calendar that they had, which was the 365-day calendar. They did not account for the leap year, the years like today, but they had those calendars that were divided into 20-day periods, and they had 18 20-day periods, and then they had 5 days in their calendar that were considered days of turmoil. Days that you didn't have any control of what happened, and it's quite interesting to note that, because if you look at it, we have at least 5 days in our life today that of the year that may be full of turmoil. Okay, well, we're back here on EPIC Voyages Radio on the Inception Radio Network. We're sorry about having some technical difficulties tonight. We're fortunate to have a wonderful engineer, and he's getting us back on the air very quickly. So we want to thank him, and also continue with our discussion about the Mayans. And maybe that's why they had the philosophy that something has got to be torn up and something's got to have a disaster before you have good things. So good things happen, and so we're looking forward to having a show with no more glitches in it. So I appreciate you staying with us today, and we're going to have 3 guests with us this evening. We're going to have Seon. Seon is a channel. He is traveling as we speak tonight, so he was kind enough to give us a pre-recorded interview. And in the pre-recorded interview, he's going to tell us a little bit about himself and tell us a little bit about what he thinks is going to be happening in 2013. And also, he's going to talk a little bit about extraterrestrials in his line of work. And then, of course, after we have Seon with us, we're going to have Joy Kauf. Joy is going to be talking about galactic healing, how she got into that, and exactly what galactic healing is. And it is another one of those paranormal ideas. It's paranormal because it's unexplained by modern science, and it's something that is very effective. And she's going to tell us a little bit about how her work and how people can get certified in galactic healing. Then finally, we're going to have another person very interesting, and as far as I'm concerned, his name is Joshua Shapiro, and he is a crystal skull expert. And Joshua will be sponsoring a crystal skull conference this weekend on December 1st and 2nd. And he'll be with us this evening via Skype, and he will be taking your calls tonight if you would like to call in and talk to him about how the crystal skulls will be changing the way we live. And it's such an interesting concept. And if you haven't been around a crystal skull, it's something that that draws you to it, and it's like these skulls talk to you. It's just amazing. I'm the custodian now of 4 of them. They're small ones, but I hope to get a larger one later on. But it's really interesting how the energy from each of those skulls affects you. It can calm you down, and it can also make you feel like some of those skulls are characters. I've been around quite a number of them with my work, and I've learned that they are they seem to have this way of communicating, and it's just fascinating. But before we go to our first guest tonight, I do want to tell you a little bit more about my work. And if you want to find out more about me and my psychic mediumship, you can just go to my website at johncappello.com. And you can find all my contact information there. And you can find out about my new book, Open the Mind, Exercise the Soul. It's a new book that is in many Barnes and Nobles around the country. And if it's not there, you can just ask them for it, and they'll bring it in for you. But also in the North Texas area, Dallas, Fort Worth, and even in the Houston area, I have visionary meetup groups. And these meetup groups talk about various metaphysical and paranormal topics. And they're free, and I like to have people come, speakers that may have been on this program in the past. They'll be there, and they can tell you about their work and what they do. In addition to that, I have workshops. I have psychic development workshops. I'll be doing a number of them next year, and I'll be giving a certificate out for those that complete the 6 session or 6 workshop course. And it should be something where you will be able to practice and develop your own skills. It's all based on the book, Open the Mind, Exercise the Soul. But you'll have hands-on experience and hands-on practicing if you can come to an actual workshop. Now, these workshops are going to be available not only in the Dallas area, but also in Houston. They'll be available in Abilene. They'll be available in Oklahoma, and they soon will be available in Louisiana. So if you could take a look and find those, or find out where I'm going to be, you can, like I say, you can go to my website and go to the calendar and find out where I'll be, and if I'm anywhere near you, then you can sign up for one of those workshops. Or you can sign up for one of my other public events, like a gallery or a talk about my book. So there's just a lot of opportunities that I try to give people to work with me. Now, another thing is that I have a newsletter, a monthly newsletter that you can sign up for. It provides you with a lot of different articles about handwriting analysis, about face reading, and also an astrological forecast. And then I write an article pertaining to a particular subject of the month. Now, also, if you would like to contact me for a private reading, you may do so. You can call me at 888-440-7130. Once again, that's 888-440-7130. And you can arrange a time for us to do a phone call, or once again, if you're in this area, we'll meet you in person. So now, I want to tell you that because of the holiday season, I am offering gift certificates for readings, and I do recommend purchasing my new book as a gift. And soon I'll be having some meditation CDs out as well. You can order my book online. You can order it through Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com. We also have a fan page for Open the Mind, Exercise the Soul. You can just go to Facebook and you can find my name, and then you can find the fan page for Open the Mind, Exercise the Soul. Now, my new meditation is going to be released very soon. It's called Passage to Maya. It's a guided past life meditation, and it's available at Joy Kauf store and Miracles of Joy, as well as signed copies of my book. So I'm hoping that you will be able to come by Joy's or contact her at messagesofjoy.org, and you can see her website. We're going to have her on the program here in just a few minutes, and we'll have her tell you a little bit more about that. Now, Mercury has come out of retrograde. It came out yesterday, but obviously it's still having some effect on us tonight. And I apologize for that. It's just one of those things, the way technology is nowadays. We depend on it, and then sometimes it lets us down. So I do thank you for staying with us. Now, also, I want to tell you just one more thing before we go to our first guest this evening, that I do meetups. And if you have not found meetup.com in your area, I'm going to recommend that you do, because you can find paranormal groups, you can find psychic development groups, you can find groups that do just about any and everything. And anything that you have an interest in, you can find a group that will suit you. And it's just a wonderful social networking avenue that you can take. And there's a lot of groups like that, and I know in North Texas and also in South Texas, and I'm finding them all over the country. They're just a wonderful thing. They're based out of New York City, but they have expanded all over the place. And if you're not part of a meetup group, I'm sure you can find one that you will be interested in joining. A lot of ghost hunters have meetup groups, and they have offerings to where people can go on ghost hunts. And this is the time of year to do that. That's when people really get after going looking for the paranormal. And this will be a good time to join if you're not part of one at this time. So I hope that when we get to our call-in time, our call-in section of the program, that you'll call and ask for either a free psychic reading or speak to one of our guests this evening, because we would like to hear from you and have your input on some of the things that we're talking about this evening. Now, with that, I think we're about ready to go. We have Seon with a pre-recorded interview. I think that you'll enjoy it, and so I will go ahead and turn things over to Seon at this time. Okay, well, joining us this evening is Seon from Sedona. And Seon is a channel from the Sedona, Arizona area. And Seon, are you there?
Yes, sir, I am. Great to hear your voice, John. Thanks for this opportunity.
Well, you're welcome. Thanks for joining us here on the EPIC Voyagers radio program on the Inception Radio Network. Now, when I was asked to be a guest host, I immediately thought of you because I think your work is so fascinating, and you do such a wonderful job, and you're a channel, and so I thought that would be extraordinary for talking on this particular program, because EPIC deals with everything paranormal. And of course, you and I have worked together in the past. We have worked together more specifically on the Live Inspired cruise for 2012 when we went to Chichen Itza earlier this year, and of course we had a great time. And so I think your work and my work complement one another.
Absolutely.
And so what I wanted to do was I wanted to introduce you to the audience and introduce your work if they're not familiar with a channel. And so I wanted to know, how long have you been a channel, and what moved you to go in this direction with your career? Can you just tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Thanks again, John. And hello to all the EPIC Voyagers out there. So bottom line is, actually 2013 will be the 30th year I've been working and been opened to trans-channeling. And so that started back in 1983. I was moved, or rather, I felt very guided and directed. I'd had a childhood of religiosity. I was raised a Roman Catholic, and I went into the Pentecostal movement. I did meditations and all that, just all between the early teen years. And I was on the road leaving one career and was sort of foundering and trying to find my way. I was about 26, and I actually was introduced to a psychic, and he, I've been going to psychics. My mother and father from Scotland and Ireland, so they were very much in tune with all this type of phenomenon and things in their lives. So going to a psychic was no big deal, but I went to this gentleman, and basically he told me a lot of things that he wouldn't know but did know, so that gave me, more validation and proof of the experience. So I was interested in what he had to offer, and I went to the man's classes, and more of like a meditation and psychic 101, and I was just opened in that way back then. He wasn't trying to make anyone a medium or a channel, and I wasn't looking for this experience in my life. It just happened, and it's been quite the ride ever since.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's wonderful. So you spoke to a psychic, and that got you in that direction. Well,
things happen.
What was your first experience channeling?
It was actually quite an outrageous experience for me. Fabulous Fred, as I call him, Fred Fassett, he's actually in Arizona as well, down in Scottsdale, still a practicing psychic. And anyway, the short story is when we were all living in Los Angeles at the time, excuse me, there was a group of people. He always had people coming to his meditation / psychic 101 class, just coming in and coming out just to experience it or explore what they could find in themselves in that moment. And I was already going in and out of state, channeling and things of that nature, but just for these intimate group of people. And all of a sudden we had a room full of, for lack of a better word, strangers, and Fred would do a sort of a hypnotic thing where he would count people down or count people up into that deeper trance-like state, and I, being very open to that process, I was leaning against he had a big glass window, and this sort of leads into how I got the spiritual name Seon. What happened is I still channel this frequency, but it hasn't come through in a little bit of time, but it was called Master Yi, and Master Yi would show up, and obviously a Chinese persuasion, and people would say my face would change, and obviously the vocal tonality would change, and so what would happen is this Chinese frequency would come through and offer guidance and for wisdoms on certain subjects and information on people's lives. And so what happens is I go into this, we're all in a meditation, and Fred can see that Master Yi is seated through, and he walks over, and the piece of me that can recall or remember at that time was right there, and John, to say I was nervous and like a little bit freaked out that this is going to be my public outing was a bit nerve-wracking. And he said to Master Yi, so Master Yi, how is, my original name was Shawn Michael back then. He goes, how's Shawn Michael? And he goes, oh, well, he is shaking and nervous as a piece of glass. And, of course, my back is against his dining room window. It was a floor-to-ceiling window, and it felt so transparent. It was a very different experience rather than, with the human ego, we have all these masks, and this was a very different experience. And so then he said, well, I'm going to count him deeper, so as he hears the numbers, he's going to go deeper, and everyone's going to come to the surface. Mm-hmm. And he's whispering all this, and then eventually Master Yi came through, and the rest is history, entertaining and giving people information that whole evening, and it was
Well, do you feel that trust is a major factor in your work, trusting the entities that come to you?
Well, that's always been, I offer and teach about people getting in the seat, channeling themselves, and that seems to be the question. Going beyond trust, I have faith. In the 30 years of doing this experience, I haven't seen anything negative embody me except for my own ego when it comes to going through. So that's the only, faith in the experience, John.
So you do offer workshops and readings based on the entities that come to you, or is there a specific entity that gives the readings, or do you just have to wait until a person comes to you, then a specific entity comes for a reading?
Well, thank you. That's a very clear question. In the years I've been doing this, it's changed its format. So my whole mission is to be that clear and open vessel, to sit in the seat and allow to what wants to transpond or come through. In a private session, the timing has been very intimate. It's like 30 minutes usually. And in the last 10, 15 years, there's been a frequency that's been coming through that labels itself as malachite. that's all it really labels itself as. It calls itself a Lord of Creation, and comes through with and it speaks to groups, and also in the individual sessions, people can have their questions or have no questions. It just comes through and sometimes like a freight train comes into someone's reality and illuminates certain aspects of questions. They go, oh wow, this is exactly what I was looking for, or this is what I wanted to ask, or can you be more specific on this area? So Malachite comes through, and in the last couple of years, it's been going to the experience of like when it was when I first started, that these people would sit in front of me, and if there was a frequency, or for lack of a better word, their own spirit guide, a buzzword from the metaphysical community, whatever wants to speak to them, John, if that's wants to come through, comes through. Sometimes Malachite, instead of letting them merge into the experience, will merge through that experience, and he will transmit or translate what's being stated. But it always changes. I'm never, I have, that it's all being taken care of, and I don't have to think about this.
Well, in metaphysics, we always talk about how there's existence beyond the physical, and you have firsthand experience with that, working with entities that come and work through you. Have you ever worked with any extraterrestrials, or have you ever dealt with those types of entities, or have you ever experienced their energy?
Absolutely. I guess since the very beginning, there was always these frequencies that would call themselves very obtuse, angular names like Winds of the Universe or Xenon or Traveler. And over the years, they would create, and as I used to call, blow tones. They would transmit an audio focus, and tonality would come through. And these tones would offer, they're very loud, very piercing, very calming, very expansive, and there's a toning process in the beginning of all the public works, and sometimes it comes through an individual session. So to clearly answer your question, yes, I would definitely say these are non-terrestrial, non-physical frequencies, and I've even channeled very specific labels: Arcturians, Syrians, Pleiadians. There's still a frequency that's come back through again called Ara Ankh, and that is from Orion.
But Malachite is not an extraterrestrial. Malachite is a spirit guide, or is a master guide, or how would you describe Malachite? You said he just comes in with that label, but would you label him an extraterrestrial?
Sincerely, that's a great question. People always ask me, what is Malachite? Because Malachite has this sort of Encyclopedia Britannica that kind of gives you how old I am. This sort of Google search.
I'm with you. So.
All right. The Google search engine of information, and people always go, well, how does it tap into that? And Malachite is often said it's the elemental frequencies, and then sometimes it'll says it rides on the breath of the wind, and then it'll call it the solar wind. So to say that it's extraterrestrial might even be limiting. I'm not quite sure. It never says it's from any specific place. It's